All right, so what about this playground you're in? Does it feel like a playground? Oh yeah, the universe. There's a common view that the universe is infinite, but that's not true, obviously. What's the only infinite thing? God. So the universe is not infinite. Yeah. It's a creation. So that's the second thing we need to understand about it. It is a creation. The more fascinating thing, though, is there's a structure of laws that govern its creation and govern the way the universe works. So it's the result of a law-based structure that's invisible to the human, but still exists. So the more fascinating part to the universe is not actually the universe itself, but the laws that govern it. Right? So a lot of what I find when I'm talking to, say, six-sphere spirits, a lot of six-sphere spirits are very interested in the universe. You know, they love going to different places in the universe and checking them out and investigating. And there is just so much of wondrous things to see in the universe, even if you're only in the sixth sphere. There's so many things that you can see, that you can just examine and look at the wonder of it all. And it does affect your heart a lot emotionally when you see just the wonder of the things, you know, and the immensity of it as well. These are all things that you get to see. But what I feel a lot is that most people don't ever get to feel the wonder of the laws that govern it, which are even more incredible than the universe itself. Right? So I just want to say it is governed, is governed by law. And you can think of the law as like a structure. See, a lot of people think of the universe as a structure, but it's a result of a structure. It's not actually the structure itself. The universe is the effect of a structure, and the structure is the laws that govern it. And without the laws that govern it, the universe itself would not be able to maintain itself as a structure. So very important to understand that the real structure is the structure behind the universe, the laws that govern the universe, right? That's the thing that governs what happens in it, in the universe. So you could think of the universe, if it didn't have these laws, it'd be like a mass of accidental happenings, right? Which is fundamentally what many physicists and scientists at the moment believe it to be. Right, which is not actually true. The universe is not a mass of accidental happenings. It's a mass of law-based structure intending things to happen, which is very, very different than a mass of things that just happen accidentally. Right? So nothing in the universe happens accidentally. You'd say is... the universe is an intention. There's always an intended reason for a thing to occur in the universe. There's never an accident, right? And it's very important to understand that, because a lot of times, you know, even when it comes to your own life, many of you think you have accidents. You know, oh, I cut myself shaving or something. That's an accident. There's never an accident anywhere in the universe. There's always some intention based on a law as to why something happened. Right? And it's very interesting when you start seeing that, because it pertains to every aspect of life, physically, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, relationships, friendships, everything. There's so much that is governed within the universe. See, when we think about the universe, the average person's thinking the physical universe itself. You know, like the average person is thinking planets, stars. You could call them. You know, of course, there's more than that, isn't there? Should we call them the galactic matter or whatever you want to call them? The average person's thinking, when we're talking about the universe, we're talking about just that. We are talking about that, but it's not just that. You understand? It's not. A lot of people, when they think of the universe, they're thinking of a very limited thing. They're thinking just of the physical thing, and that's why I often call it physics of the universe. You know, they're thinking of the physical thing. Just like when we talk about the body, many people think of the physical body. Right? They're not thinking that there's a lot that goes into a body that's not just physical. You know, there's so many other things happening, and so it's the same in the universe. There's so many other things happening than just what you can measure as the physical matter happening in the universe. So the physical matter is happening, but it's a very minor part of the physical things that are happening. If that makes sense to you. So an example of that, the laws that govern your emotional flow in your soul are laws of the universe, right? They govern your soul. That how the emotion actually flows and even how it feels is mathematically measured and governed by the universe itself, right? You're living in the universe present as a being, and all of the things that govern you, not just your way your body works, but all your thoughts and your intentions and your desires and your passions and your longings and your emotions and your experiences, your senses, every single thing that you could think of that is a part of you is governed by the universe. Right? And when I say governed by the universe, I mean governed by the universal law. Right? And you are a higher creation than the universe itself is. Although you do need the universe to exist for the moment. I say for the moment because I don't know what the long term may be. The more of the divine you experience, who knows? I don't know where God is in terms of the seat of habitation. We know God has a seat of habitation, but we know it can't be in the universe because the universe was created after God existed, right? So therefore, God's seat of habitation can't exist in the universe itself. It doesn't need the universe to exist, right? But the fact is, for the moment, the human soul does need the universe in order to exist. The very matter that you have that makes you human all comes from the universe. Even the matter that makes your soul comes from the universe, as far as we're aware. But when you're talking about receiving a part of the divine, where does that come from? Well, that's coming from outside the universe. It's not actually in it. Now, if you're receiving a part of the divine and that substance you're receiving is not a part of the universe itself, but is actually a part of the divine, then are you now in the universe? Or are you now outside of the universe in that because you received that substance? You see, these are questions that are unresolved yet in terms of discussion, in terms of the discovery of celestial spirits, right? But you can see that for the moment we are governed by the laws. We're organised by the laws. Like your body's organised, your thoughts are organised by the law, your feelings are organised by the law, as well as the planets are organised by the law, stars are organised by the law, the galaxies are organised by the law, all of the celestial bodies are organised by the law, and other celestial bodies you can see, I mean with a big enough telescope if you have one, but there's also like 95% of the matter that exists in this physical universe you can't see. There's not even a vacuum in the universe. You know how we go into that, we call it the vacuum of space? That's not even true. There's no vacuum at all. You know, because everything is filled with something in the universe. And this is as you develop in God's love, you start to, and you see these things. You know, obviously we've seen these things with our eyes in the sense of, you know, visiting these things. You start realizing, oh, like what you imagined to be is nothing like the reality of what it is. All we're seeing when we talk about the universe is we're just seeing the physical part of it, right? But what we call the physical part of it is not actually, from God's perspective, the physical part of it. It's a very minor physical part of it. We're not seeing the whole. And 95% of what you see, 95% of what is there, 5% of which you see, the whole lot forms the universe, not the bits. So 95% of the universe itself you can't see, but it is there. And as you grow in love and as you grow in knowledge, you will see what's there. You begin to see more and more and more and more, right? Not just the physical part of it, but the whole universe. So when we talk about the universe, I'm using that term very loosely in a way, compared to how a physicist or a scientist would perhaps use the term, right?